Good morning, how you doing? I'm in the studio today playing catch up because last week I had a migraine which had me sick for 3 days and I wasn't able to do any work. And I've got a product launch coming up soon, so I've got some work I need to do for that today. Probably gonna have to wrap some soap. I've got to prep some oils for some cold process soap later on in the week. I've got to make melt and pour. Yeah, I've got to do all of that within just a couple of hours. So wish me luck. I realized that I hadn't responded to some Facebook and Instagram messages from yesterday, some work ones. So I just like to sort of clear that off at the start of the day. So that's what I'm going to do now, because I had a video that I put up on YouTube, just of like a vlog of me doing stuff in the soap room, and then I decided to repurpose that content and just sort of edit it in a slightly different way for IGTV. Yeah, it's got lots of interaction, which is really nice. I'm trying to get more in the habit of repurposing content, because I know I say that about Instagram, like with not having to redo the same captions every time and, you know, reusing photos every now and again and all that kind of stuff, but I've always been a little bit slack with like video content. So I'm going to try and make that a bit more of a thing this year. So what I did was just kind of make the video a bit more relevant to the platform. So like on YouTube, it's a very, very short video. It's sped up. It was probably like the most editing that I've done in a really long time, because it was about close to like 40 minutes of footage from so many different angles across 2 cameras. And I had to try and edit that all together in a way that was interesting, and that took me a long time. So I'm trying to work on my editing skills. Anyway, so it was a bit more of like a chilled video for YouTube, because I felt like that kind of suited the platform. But then on Instagram TV, I wanted it to be a bit more like fast paced. So I've just changed the music and I've cut it to be even more fast. So it's gone from like a 3.5 minute video on YouTube down to like a 1.5 minute video on Instagram. Yeah, so that's kind of my new thing. I'm picking different music. So far I'm using, yeah, let's see if I can show you. Yeah, so that was just the one that I did on IGTV. Anyway, what am I trying to say? I've started using Epidemic Sound. I'm not sure if I like it yet. I mean, it's pretty cool, but my channel's very, very small and no one's really watching it, so it doesn't make a great deal of sense to have a subscription for music when I can just spend a bit more time and get it for free on SoundCloud or YouTube, you know, searching for the right stuff. So we'll see what happens. This has turned quite rambly. Oh, that's right, I meant to be responding to Instagram messages. I better do that. Okay, so to see if that soap is ready to actually wrap yet, because I tend not to make notes like on the tray, I just prefer to Soapmaker. I'm gonna hop into Soapmaker and find out when I made it, and I'm pretty sure it's right to go, but yeah, this is what I'll do. I'll have a look at my finished products, look for that particular batch. This is kind of what it looks like. Whoops, can't bend my arm that way. Never mind. If you want to see a video on Soapmaker, I can do one on that. Let's see. Yep, it's ready to wrap. Oh, it was ready to wrap like 4 days ago. No problem, I'll wrap that today. Okay, so now I've got to make some melt and pour. It's for Hexmas, which is like Christmas in July crossed with Halloween. Because for my customers, Halloween is like the biggest and most exciting time of the year. And it's hot when Australia has Halloween. So, you know, it's not quite as fun. We don't get to dress up in the same way and all that kind of stuff. So, I wouldn't say a lot of businesses, some people celebrate Christmas in July. So I figured, why not make it Hexmas? Why not make it Halloween and Christmas all in the one go? So I've got some products that are coming back from Halloween and Christmas 2020. And there was 2 soaps that I wasn't able to release because I bought molds, but then COVID shipping delays were still like really, really bad last year, and the parcel got lost in Russia for months. So it ended up missing Halloween entirely. So I've just held on to them, and now I'm going to use them for Hexmas. But what I'm doing today is just prepping up some of the embeds that will go on top of the cold process soaps that I'm making for Hexmas. And it's at this point that I realize I forgot to buy more molds, which is very annoying. So now I'm going to have to play around and just make, you know, teeny tiny amounts of things, which really sucks. So this is what I've got to work with. How annoying, right? 5 and 6 of every mold. That's annoying. At least they're shallow. They'll set up pretty fast. But let me show you what I do in terms of my melt and pour setup. Because I'm just making teeny tiny amounts, I'm not going to be using my big melter because there's just no point. This is what I prefer to use. These are like candle pouring jugs, and they're really cool because they're easy for like filling up smaller type molds. I use like a simple plastic chopping board. I've had these for 10 years now, and I really, really like them for melt and pour because it's just so easy to clean up. This is the white base that I like to use. And then I've got my fragrances, my droppers. This is my favorite method of stirring, which is like a wide tongue depressor. Favorite way to chop is one of these dough scrapers. And then I've got a little, you know, recycled jar that I use to put my dirty syringes in there until they're, pipettes, not syringes, until they're ready to be cleaned. So yeah, I'll get stuck into this now. See, I really should have like 20 of these molds. I am mad at Pastor Leah for not having made a note of that. I know because they're steaming, it probably seems as if I've overheated them, but trust me, I haven't. It's just very cold in here. But I don't like to work in a jumper, so I left the window open in the soap room last night, so it got a bit chilly. Luckily, these embeds are just so simple. I don't have to colour them. They've got to be white because they're meant to be bone, you see. They're meant to be bone. I'm really glad that I only do embeds a couple of times a year because it's not my favourite thing to do. You know, when it's Halloween, when it's special, I think it's nice to have just these little extra things on a soap. It makes it feel like it's, you know, a fun time of year. It's great. So because it's so cold, these will set up relatively quickly. They'll definitely be ready by the time I finish prepping my oils. One thing I found really important when I'm doing lots of like fiddly, repetitive work like this is that you've got to keep your spaces neat and tidy. And it's honestly not natural for me to, you know, try and keep things neat and tidy and in order because I just tend to do whatever, whenever. But I force myself because I know that otherwise it's just going to become such a messy disaster in here. Just, you know, trying to get lots done at once, and you sort of sacrifice you know, a process and keeping things neat and tidy, it does actually work against you. I have to tidy up in here a couple of times a week because, you know, I just fall back into old habits really easily. So until I need to use these embeds, I'm just going to keep them in some of these melt and pour containers that I hold on to. I use them for all sorts of things. I use them for like samples and holding on to embeds and organizing all sorts of stuff. I'm going to start doing oils now. I had a bit of a slow start just before I decided I was hungry, so I went and had a couple of crumpets and a cup of coffee. Because I don't know about you, but I can't work when I'm hungry, and that's when I tend to make a lot of mistakes, and you know, it's not worth it. So when I'm feeling hungry, I just go and have a snack, and then I come back and I'm refreshed and I can do the work properly. I was just about to start measuring out my oils, and I thought I would show you a couple of ergonomic tricks that I have in the soap room to make sure that I'm looking after my back, because I've got scoliosis and I have, you know, just migraines that I get because of neck pain and shoulder pain and all that kind of stuff. So I'm always trying to look after my back as much as I possibly can. So here's a few little tricks. Try and work on some fatigue matting. So this is just like a squishy rubber mat that I use. It's not particularly big. They're kind of expensive, so if you can get away with just having a small one. So basically what the fatigue matting does is just sort of care for your feet and care for your legs so that you aren't getting fatigued. You know, it's an anti-fatigue mat. And it's quite a problem when you're on your feet for a long period of time and standing in the same spot. You know, typically when I'm in the soap room, I'm moving around quite a bit, but I remember when I've worked before in, you know, warehousing and like mail order jobs and stuff, when they didn't have the fatigue matting, by the end of the day and a couple of days into the week, your legs were just aching and your feet just felt absolutely awful because your joints weren't being cushioned as you were working. So they're about $35 in Australia for this one. I think it came from Officeworks. They're not terribly expensive, so it's probably one of the best things that you can get in your soap room to help care for your body. Hi. And then the next tip is to make sure that when you're lifting things, you're pulling it as close to you as you possibly can. So you're not lifting heavy stuff and reaching at the same time, because that can be really bad for your back. So an example of that is I'm just about to measure out some oils, and you know, they're fairly small batches. It's not a great big deal, but I am going to be, you know, reaching a lot, and that might hurt my shoulder and my back over time. So I simply bring things closer to me. So I'm going to bring my scales closer. And that means that when I'm working, I'm scooping things into this container. I'm not having to lean forward and strain my back like that. It's just these really small adjustments can help look after your body a lot when you're working, which is, you know, it's kind of a boring topic, but at the same time it's really important, because if you can't make your products, is there anyone else that can do it for you? You know, chances are you're just on your own. So it's a good idea just to, you know, do these small things each day and help look after your body, because it's the only one you got. Okay, I've got my formula here, and I'm making 3 batches of soap, but they're all using the same base formula, so it's super easy. And because it's winter, I'm going to have to scoop out my coconut oil because it's frozen solid. And what I'll do is just get my hard oils into this small container, melt them in the microwave, and then pour it into my larger container that the liquid oils will go into, and it just makes everything cool down a bit faster. I'm going to get some gloves on for this. Even though my hands are clean, I still just rather they don't get covered in coconut oil. I also like to touch my scale before I start weighing anything into it, because on the off chance there's anything wrong with the scale and it's not going to register the weight, just a little touch lets you know that it is, you know, registering weight. Alright, so there's my coconut for this batch. Tear, touch, yep, it's all good. I really like to use tea towels as much as I possibly can in the soap room rather than paper towel, because I feel like it's more sustainable. I still use paper towel, of course, for some things because you kind of have to, but as often as I can, I just use a tea towel. It's simple. Come with me. You can sit on top of on top of my thingy again. what's the word I'm trying to say? Melter. You probably can't hear me over the microwave. I realized when I film downstairs I can get really quite good sound because it's a carpeted room, there's a couch in there, there's lots of cushions and throws and all that kind of stuff, so it's a good room for recording. But when I'm in here and it's just the epoxy floors and the stainless steel and no soft furnishings, I'm noticing the sound that I record in this room is not great. So I need to get a microphone to attach to this camera with a dead cat. What a name, hey? So that it can help sort of muffle some of this sound, because I realize that I sound kind of tinny in this room because it's echoing and bouncing off all over the place. Microwave's still going. Let's go and check. It'll need a bit longer, but we'll check anyway. Ooh, you shea butter. So I'm going to let this just melt a bit longer. There's only a few little blobs left to go. So I'll do my liquid oils now, and then once that has been measured out and it's all correct, then I'll pour my melted hard oils in. I find, like, especially when I'm doing videos, I'm a bit distracted, and that's when I tend to make mistakes because I'm worried about, can you see what I'm doing? Is it in focus? You know, all that kind of stuff. So rather than make a mistake, I'll just do it this way. Even though I know it's not the most efficient. Okay, so there's my liquid oils. Good, good. Now I'm going to pour in my melted hard oils. So this batch of soap I'm not actually making until tomorrow, so I'm just going to put a lid on it. And if you're wondering why I'm not like master batching a bit better, it's because I'm kind of doing like test batches at the moment. So I know I said I made these for Christmas and Halloween last year, which I did, and I was happy with them. But before I go and like mix up a whole bunch of stuff, you know, 3 or 4 batches worth, I just want to like double check myself again, you know? Just makes a bit more sense. And honestly, I'm getting pretty low on coconut oil, which means that I need to drive out to the supplier. And I hate doing that because I've got to go onto the freeway and it's got like this weird exit, and a couple of times I've missed it, and then I've had to circle back around, and I've added like 45 minutes onto my trip and had to go through a toll. So, you know, I tend not to look forward to it when I have to go out. So coconut oil is the one thing that I tend to buy in decent bulk because I don't like to have to make that trip very often. It's a pain. So anyway, so I don't want to mess up and then, you know, have to go and see the supplier sooner than I need to. Yeah, I won't film the rest of this because I'm just doing the same thing 2 more times. But that's pretty much how I measure out my oils, particularly for these smaller batches.
As you may already know their names, find their Facebook pages, pop the link to their Facebooks if we don't have other information to contradict that.
Got it. So if you're local, then you're going to be low competition.
Yeah.